Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. So, as I speak, there is a lot of questions being asked about the recent NATO-Ukrainian strike against the Russian Black Sea Fleet headquarters that now allegedly has killed the commander of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. So how is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, how is Ukraine penetrating Russian air defenses and destroying targets in the Crimean Peninsula? And these are some of the most sensitive targets that could possibly be hit by the Ukrainians outside a direct attack against Moscow. So how are they doing it? Well, obviously, it is the Storm Shadow. The Storm Shadow is an element in this operation. It is a component of this NATO attack against the Crimean Peninsula. And look, make no mistake, I've talked about this before in a prior videos, that these attacks against Sevastopol have all the hallmarks of a NATO operation, a U.S. operation. It is what the U.S. does very well. Deep penetration strikes against heavily defended targets. Could the Ukrainians have alone conducted a deep penetration strike against a very robust air defense network? And the answer is no. So how is the United States getting through Russia's air defense network? How are they getting through the S-400s, the S-300s, the Bucks, all the other systems, the close range air defense systems, point air defense systems that are in use? How are they getting through? Is it just the Storm Shadow? Is the Storm Shadow this stealthy wonder weapon that has the ability to penetrate Russian air defense networks? And the short answer is yes and no. Yes, it has a very small cross-section, and it's more difficult for the Russians to target this system. But we at MFAN believe there is another system that is being used, and quite possibly this system is being launched by U.S. aircraft. Now, these aircraft can launch these systems from Romania, from Moldova, deep in the Black Sea, over Bulgaria, because they have over a 500-mile range. They have more range. The system that I'm about to talk to you about has more range than the Storm Shadow. But here's the kicker. It doesn't attack. It simply inundates Russian air defenses, creates an environment where the Russians have to go after these targets. And these targets are none other than the MALD, the Miniature Advanced Decoy, AMD 160. This system, the ADM 160, the air-launched decoy, the Miniature Air-Launched Decoy, MALD. Now, the United States can launch these systems from a wide range of aircraft. They can launch them from Poseidons. They can launch them from F-16s, F-15s, B-52s, B-1s, any aircraft the U.S. possesses can launch these ADM-160 MALDs. So what do these things do? Well, they simulate a cruise missile. They travel at the same speed of a cruise missile, and they have the ability to give off the same cross-section as a cruise missile as well. Very limited. They can also simulate other aircraft. They can simulate a Su-24. They can simulate a MiG-29. They can simulate an FA-18. So we believe that the United States is launching these ADM-160s, these MALDs, miniature air-launched decoys, in such numbers that it simply oversaturates Russian air defenses. And then sprinkled in behind these ADM-160s are the Storm Shadows. So the Russians expend large numbers of air defense missiles. There's a finite number that the Russians can launch, be it point defense missiles or longer range air defense missiles, at these swarms of targets. And then once those air defense systems expend their missiles, they have to be reloaded. And that's when the Storm Shadows come in and hit those targets. And they've done that. We know for a fact that a variant of the ADM-160 was found in the theater of operations. The wreckage of an ADM-160 was found by the Russians. But more importantly, for the Russians, and this is going to require some soul searching for the Russian Federation, is the simple fact that NATO has the ability to hit some of the most sensitive targets in the Russian Federation with conventional strikes. Now, we have not seen what the Russians can do. We have not seen a Russian response against NATO targets as of yet. We have not seen a strike against Romania, Poland, that could be facilitating these operations in launching these decoy missiles. Because then it gets very tricky. Is the United States launching an attack against Crimea when they're launching these decoy systems at Crimea? I would say yes. But I am not a battlefield attorney. At the end of the day, could it be just the Ukrainians launching the Storm Shadows in these modified Su-24s, and then dozens and dozens of these MALDs being launched by U.S. aircraft from the safety of Romania and other nations, allied nation states? But I have no doubt that it was just not Storm Shadow missiles involved in the strike against Sevastopol. Not only that, it was not just one missile strike that hit this very sensitive target, the headquarters of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. Multiple aim points were hit. Very precise aim points were hit. It is believed that other targets as well, not just this facility, but hardened targets that had underground bunkers in the Crimea were also hit by Storm Shadow missiles with the Broach warhead, designed to penetrate hardened structures. So I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to, most people are not aware of this system. So again, this is the ADM-160. This is the Storm Shadow. This attacks and blows stuff up. This inundates the air defense environment where Russian forces try to shoot these down instead of these. So hopefully that makes sense for you. But that's what we're here to do. We're here to provide information, give you information on what's really happening in this ongoing war and how this war could rapidly escalate in the near future. So thank you for joining us today. More to come very, very soon. As always, have a good day.